This is John from johnsbeat.com. I'm here with On the Beat with the Global Traveler Extra. I have Tommy Else of the Checking In podcast. How are you, Tommy?
I'm great, John. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing well, thank you. I wanted to talk to you. I wrote about the podcast. I did a feature on Global Traveler's website called Podcast Pleasures, and yours was one that I listed because I do listen to it, obviously, and it's
Yeah.
called Checking In. So before I ask any questions, could you tell the audience a little bit about what checking in is, why you started it, what it's about?
Yeah. As this pandemic got going, and I realized that we were actually going to have to legitimately be in quarantine and stay home, I found myself just wanting to call people and check in with them and just see how they're doing. Like you have supplies, how's your work situation? Some people have kids at home. And so I was kind of calling around and talking to friends and things like that. And it occurred to me that we're all dealing with one singular obstacle, which is, of course, the coronavirus. But in everybody that I talked to, they were dealing with it in their own unique way. Everybody has different obstacles that they're facing that other people aren't. And so I thought one way to kind of get me just being consistent on checking in with my friends and family would be to do a show where I feature these people. And, it would keep me on top of, checking in on everybody. But at the same time, it's a chance for me to show other people who might watch or listen to it how other people are dealing with this situation. And in some cases, they can relate to it. And in other cases, they'll see people going through things that they would never have thought of, because in their life, it's not something that affects them. So it gives you a good idea, a nice cross section of how everybody is dealing, a good, bad, or otherwise.
Well, I've referred to it as social undistancing because in
Yeah.
this time of social distancing, I think you're bringing people together. I've heard or met most of the people on that you've interviewed so far, myself included, obviously. Um, did that come into play? Did you think about that, the social impact this could have as you were starting out?
No, as you know, have had my hand in quite a few different podcasts over the years and stuff. I've never really been worried about how many people are watching or any of that sort of stuff. If it has an impact on anything, it's something I like doing. And what I did notice was is that people I was interviewing seemed to have a good time doing the show, and that's about as far as I had thought, into it. And but I did find that as they started coming out and people started kind of getting the gist of what I was doing, that interest in it started growing, and I think it did start having a little. I heard from people who were able to, like I said, relate to some things and were never considering other issues that some people were facing.
Obviously there's a limit to the amount. Even a popular guy like yourself, there is going to be a limit to the amount of friends that you could bring on. Do you have any long-term thoughts? Will you do repeat? Will you go back to some people, or is there
Well,
a end to this? And what happens when the quarantine ends?
Okay. I do have an answer to that. So first of all, I actually have. The more I've been doing these shows, the more I've had people coming out of the woodwork um, that are interested in being on the show. And the thing is that there's really, there's nobody who isn't going through their own unique version of this whole thing. So everybody's story is worth telling. So as far as guests go, I have no shortage of people lined up, and so that's not an issue. Um, my goal, however, has been since the first episode that whenever we come out the other end of this, whatever that may be, um, you know, I don't know what the end of this looks like, but at some point I do want to go back and then re-interview these people and find out how things went from their first interview to where we are at that point, and then get an idea of of their journey. So there will be a checking back in, so to speak, at some point.
And will there ever be a reverse check in? In other words, will anybody check in with Tommy? Or is Tommy checking in through all these?
Well, that's the thing is I think during the course of most of these shows, I mean, I always chime in with my own personal experiences, as because there's things that I can relate to, of course, that with some of the guests, and so I think you get enough checking in with me just through the shows as they stand. I obviously keep the emphasis on the guest, but I chime in with this and that, and even usually, if I have anything significant to say, I'll bring it up in the intro or the outro to the show. But for me personally, I have had a fairly limited impact on me in this, so I really don't have a whole lot to say that I haven't already said on the show. So I think people are kind of up to speed with me as it is. So I don't think there'd ever be a need for an episode with me.
Could you give us a scoop maybe on the next handful or so of guests that you already have secured?
Yeah. So I actually talked to my brother this last Sunday and had him on. I've done, I don't know, 6 or 7 different podcasts of their own in different varieties over the last 10 plus years. This is the first one he's ever actually come on as a guest. And he lives out in Portland. He is married and has a brand new baby girl, my niece, Charlie. And so I hit him on to kind of get his take on things. He's someone who is a very analytical person and has been following all of the news on this stuff and taking precautions and things like that, and has a lot of opinions on the whole thing. So he'll be coming on as the next one I post up. Following him, I've got he started out as a personal training client of mine. His name is Charles Brown III, and he is both a portfolio manager. So he's got his eye on the markets every single day from the second he wakes up in the morning until the end of the day, because he's handling literally millions of dollars of
Sure.
money every day. And the markets are, of course, severely affected and impacted right now by the virus. But he's also a fairly prominent musician and a composer as well, as he is a resident composer for the Lake County Symphony Orchestra. And so he is writing music, he's handling the portfolios. He has probably been more isolated than anybody I know. I mean, someone who truly has not left his house for almost 2 months now.
Wow.
So, I mean, I at least go out on a walk and things like that. I mean, he is legitimately not left the house. So, so those are the next two coming up. There is a good chance my mother will be coming on soon, and then I've got another friend out in New York. I talked to one person in New York already, but I have another one out in a different part, different situation. He is a child as well, and so there's people lined up coming down the pike still. So, and I'm again trying to get different places, different demographics, and so on and so forth.
Well, we look forward to that. Where can people find it on podcast platforms?
Okay, so there's the Or Else podcast network on SoundCloud. So if you just look up the Or Else network, or you could just look up Checking In with Tommy Else on SoundCloud. But there are all video interviews are available on YouTube, on my channel, which is just Tommy Else. So if you just go on YouTube and type in "checking in with Tommy Else," you should have no problem finding at least one of the interviews, and then find the rest of them through that. So
Sounds good, Tom. Hey, man, thank you for your time, and I will be watching. I encourage everyone else to watch. It's a lot more than just you talking to friends.
yeah,
It's I think it's making a difference, and it's cool for me to like I said before to get to know some of your other friends in the larger circle, and to see the friends of yours that I already know, like your brother, your mother. to see what they're doing. So it's cool for me, and I think it's an interesting thing on a bigger social level as well. So thank you.
That's been Yeah, no, that's been a cool part of it for me too, in that like I'm looking forward to my brother's episode coming out because there's a lot of people out there who I know who have never met my brother. And to get to see him for like 40 minutes and talking even about this, it's cool to get to share with people these people who are a big part of my life. So I've been happy to get to be able to do that. So, but thank you for interviewing me. I appreciate you having me on, sir.
Well, we'll let you go now. I'm sure you've got another 6 or 7 podcasts to do today. So until next time. Oh wait, that's your line. Until next time, this is John for Johngy's Beat here with Tommy also checking in. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you, John.